Okay, I admit it, I'm biased towards my former newspaper, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm Marky Bilson, Tri-City Sports Now. One of the most revered sports columnists we had on the sports section was Gene Collier, who had a tremendous dry sense of humor, but also was really respected for writing on an intellectual level. And I found that to be the case last week when he wrote a story, and I encourage everyone to go online and read the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette website here, where he wrote a story on how baseball analytics may have made Major League Baseball too smart for its own good. That's the name of the article. Is Major League Baseball too smart for its own good? It's always nice to talk to Gene Collier, and so I'm going to begin with saying this really touched me because I remember reading 20 years ago in the Society of American Baseball Research Journal. Yes, I would read that, and I would have all these people, they'd come up with new statistics and all this, and I would always just ignore that. I wanted to read the stories and all this. But as you say, baseball, a lot of it is becoming an algebra problem, if you will. Is that good or bad for the sport, in your opinion, Gene Collier?
Well, Marky, thanks so much for having me. It's good to talk with you again. I do want to be clear about this because when I write these columns, people think, well, this is just an old guy who does not want to keep up with, innovations in the game, and that is, I plead not guilty to that. I like math. I was pretty good at it. When I broke into baseball writing, back in 1929 or whatever it was, I was considered a stat geek, a guy who was keeping stats on his own and forcing them into his baseball writers, his baseball stories, and I got criticism for that. So I'm not against the advent of analytics in baseball. I love the analytics. I think they illuminate in a way that has never been illuminated before what has happened, but I like them less as a predictor of what will happen, and I like them still less as the basis for your whole organization. That's why I say we may have gotten too smart for our own good in baseball, and it's mostly because of the changes that a lot of these analytics have engendered. For example, this emphasis on shifting your defense. There's certainly no rule against shifting your defense, but what has happened because so many teams are shifting so often is that hitters, rather than adjust to the shift by hitting the ball the other way, are trying to hit the ball over the shift. And that has increased the so-called launch angle, and it has increased the velocity and speed and the height of pitches. So everybody's up there trying to hit the ball over the shift, and better yet, over the fence, and they're swinging at balls that they really cannot hit. That's why strikeouts are at a staggering level. In April, for example, Marky, there were more strikeouts than hits in baseball, and the result is, guys are either up there trying to drive up the opposition's pitch count or hit the ball over the fence, and the result is that there will be 10,000 fewer balls actually put in play this year than there were as recently as 2009. So everybody is standing around as a result of the analytics, and the game is boring as hell.
Yeah, myself, who loves baseball, a former writer for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, a little bit before our time at the Post-Gazette, but I love having him on, is Vito Stellino. He votes on the Hall of Fame, and he, even though he's a football writer, once came on here and said, baseball is about the perfect game. That's a football writer. As a baseball fan, former high school player, a bad one, I take a little bit of pride in that, And, you are talking about something when it has become home run derby, either a strikeout or a home run. Pedro Alvarez, Adam Dunn, Dave Kingman type baseball, depending on your era. There is something that we're losing. Now, I do want to ask you here, you come up here with, I've come up with that old school philosophy of, well, you know what? If the new way isn't working, maybe it's time to go back to classic Coke. Maybe it's time for Miley Cyrus to forget the pixie cut and grow out her hair, that sort of thing again. But you actually, in your piece, you're not necessarily, if I read it properly, suggesting, that changes in the game are bad. You wonder about, well, maybe to counter the shift, we, should have a rule where only two infielders can be on one side. Let me ask you this. Can't we just, get rid of the shift by bunting?
Well, you would think that's what would have happened as soon as the shift became prolific. One of the hardest things to do in baseball, we've all had this drilled into us from the very start, is obviously hit the baseball. But another thing that's really hard in the major leagues is to get a hit, and you have people who are giving you a hit. There's an old defensive axiom in the game. If someone's giving you an out, take it. In other words, take the easy out on a bunt play, that kind of thing. But for some reason, that didn't translate to if someone's giving you a hit, take it. Instead, people are just rolling over these sliders into a shift, and it's bringing the game to a standstill. I'm not saying the analytics people are wrong. I'm just telling you what the byproduct is. The byproduct is people standing around for 3.5 hours.
Yes. Yeah, I understand that. And I've always suggested that, pause play sports, there's probably as much action in putting the ball in play in baseball as there is in football, or if football has just a little bit more. It's not that much. College football takes a long time to play and such, but I think that we all remember when baseball games lasted 2.5 hours, and now that they're 3.5, yeah, there is something different here that not everyone is willing to embrace. Gene Collier, I'm up against a hard break here on Tri-Cities Sports Now. Really, check this piece out. Do a Google, Gene Collier, baseball, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, back after this. Can you stay on?
With us, a true beauty.